Hi Pooja.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening to everyone. So actually, we have around 7 to 8 students. They are uh,
Okay.
as well as master students doing their M.Pharm or M.Tech, and
Okay.
them are from Pune or Mumbai, as well as there are few, I think, from Madhya Pradesh as well. I think we have Sanjeev, who is from Madhya Pradesh. I'll tell you the concept as well. We actually ran a program called 21 Days Masterclass for the
Mhm.
students. Therein, for these all students, we had 21 separate sessions on 21 topics. So
Okay.
it included something like Orange Book, or how to do market research, or have a LinkedIn page, how to use it effectively. So various aspects of that, as well as career related aspects for the students. And
Okay.
and we also had Deepak Singh on one of the days when he joined us for guiding the students. So I thought of when I actually had an opportunity to go through your blogs, I thought of having you on board so that our students would get benefited because of all this. And so the class, we have Pooja. I know her as Pooja Upadhyay Banbakode. Okay. So Pooja was kind of my client in Micro Labs when she was working with the formulations team, and I was the IP team. So welcome Pooja, and we'll have a kind of a casual, or kind of everyone is muted except you and me. What we'll
Yeah.
do is, whatever questions the students have, they can ask us through chat, and the most relevant
Okay.
questions we'll take at the end of the session.
Sure. Sure, sir. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening, everyone.
Uh, so let us start with your actually journey, especially the education, from your schooling as well. We would like to know.
Okay. Basically, I'm from not from Mumbai. So, I'm from Varanasi. So, my schooling was from Varanasi. After that, I shifted to Mumbai, wherein I completed my graduation B Farm from MET Bandra. I had this, kind of attraction towards nanotechnology. So I wanted to do something in technology. So I moved to Manipal because they offered a course in nanopharmaceuticals. So my master's was in nanopharmaceuticals from Manipal. That way it was. So schooling was completely in Varanasi, which is a very small kind of, place.
Yeah, compared to, but then जो लैंग्वेज है उसमें वो टिपिकल यूपीआई तहजीब जिसे बोलते हैं वो अभी भी है. मुंबई हैज changed you a lot, right?
Yes, truly it has teach me a lot. Like 2005, I moved to Mumbai, so like almost I've completed 15 years here. I try, I've learned Marathi quite well, and I also, make sure that my Hindi doesn't, get spoiled,
Spoiled.
kind of thing. But then, yes, I have, tried maintaining that balance.
Okay. And was it actually difficult to move from Varanasi to Mumbai? How was the change or transition?
Uh, Yes, so I mean, if I say that, my family, they are very much, oriented towards education and stuff. I have my grandfather was an Ayurvedic doctor of a national figure kind of thing. So my dad, when he said I got, I tried in MHCET also because mainly my focus was medical. So that time I tried in MHCET also, from which I got, B Farm under this outside Maharashtra quota seat. So when I came to know that I'm supposed to go to Mumbai after the counseling round, I was very much worried because I was quite, timid, shy, and introvert kind of person. So I hardly used to speak to people and stuff. So it was really difficult for me to, come all the way from Varanasi to a place like Mumbai, which is, people are so open to each other. And that too, I got admission in a college in Bandra, which is like the most happening kind of part of Mumbai. So initially it was difficult, but I was blessed with good friends, good kind of environment. So I was able to mold myself.
So kind of Mumbai changed you from being an introvert to extrovert now?
Really, I do feel so, because in being introvert, you know many things, but you're not able to express yourself, and that becomes very difficult. You are claustrophobic kind of thing. But when in Mumbai, I came to Mumbai. I got to know that you should be very expressive, and you should be just what do you say, prompt and everything and stuff. So I started changing myself slowly, and maybe circumstances, when you're forced to be in certain situation, you become like that. So being an extrovert is really good, and it's a kind of evolution. I must say that I'm still evolving.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, everyone is kind of evolving, especially during this lockdown period, I believe, right? So
Sure. Yeah, we are.
yeah. So how was your experience in terms of education at MET for your BPharm?
MET, more of that, I will say, in all the colleges actually, there is more of extracurricular activities. So if I see Mumbai, I like MET, I got to learn obviously a lot of things about pharmacy, and we had so many, kind of research activities which were going on in my college. But there is more of extracurricular activities, which if I compare it with Manipal. So MET was good. I got to learn my basics. I got my basics from there. So MET was really a good experience.
And then you shifted just because of your interest in nanopharmaceuticals to Manipal. Then I will come back to the same question, like how difficult now, because I know once you are in Mumbai, once you are Mumbaikar, it's really difficult to go outside. Then how was that?
Actually, sir, I would say that I targeted few of the universities, and I remember 2008-9 was a recession period wherein I got admission in one of the college in US, but the fees for that nanopharmaceutical course was somewhere around 23 lakh or something for a year. And then I had some colleges in India as well. Through I sorted them out, listed them based on gate. They used to take admissions and stuff. So because of that, I couldn't go there. But then I was fortunate enough to get admission in Manipal, because that is like quite a research and oriented university. So yeah, Manipal was altogether a great experience. All the professors. In fact, I got to co-author in many of the books with my professors. So
Great.
it really added more of like a confidence, in the field and in myself as well.
So was it like accidental to come back to Mumbai after Manipal, or it was like pre-decided? No, I have to come back to Mumbai.
So when I was doing my masters, so as a part of the second year, I was doing an internship kind of thing with a lab called K Lab, and it was in collaboration with BHU, because they have electronic microscopes and stuff which was required for my nanotechnology project. In the meanwhile, I got a call from IPCA that they were planning to do something in nanotechnology, but they had this NDDS department, Novel Drug Delivery department. So, and they decided to work on liposomes also. So, during my post graduation project, I got a job there in IPCA in 2011 Jan. So that's why I shifted to Mumbai.
Okay, okay. And now coming back to your professional journey, so you started with IPCA, right? As
Yes.
more or less like a campus placement.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it? And did your work which you did during your masters, did it help you in terms of your profile at IPCA?
Uh, Actually, so when I joined IPCA, because of my nanotechnological background, I was recruited. But unfortunately, whatever project I worked on, liposome and stuff, there was just one project. It was not commercialized kind of. So my forte became pelletization, more of control release oral solids. So basically in IPCA and throughout my career, I like worked on oral solids, like basically on pelletization. So nanotechnology, I couldn't use in my career, but then yeah, it was a learning experience.
And how long you were with Pooja?
Sorry, sir.
How long you were with IPCA?
IPCA, I was there for almost 1 year, 9 months or so. Yeah, so IPCA, I was for 1 year, 9 months, and then I shifted to a market research company called IMS Health. It's a US based company.
Yeah.
Now it is Quintiles IMS.
Yes, yes, yes. So I would like to know more about that experience of yours with IMS Health. How was it, and
Mhm.
how did your I would say the experience in IPCA helped you in terms of profile at IMS as well?
Okay, so actually, I joined in a department which was giving technical backup to market research team. There is something called as NFC ATC classification, which is laid down by WHO and all. So whatever work we do in pharma industry, because there is more of this commercial interest people have. So we need to know which kind of product we should work on and stuff. And business development and marketing team, based on these kind of IMS data, you know they finalize their product basket and stuff. So my work was to define which product goes under which category kind of thing, so that after their audit, which is called secondary sales audit and stuff through stockists, they used to add SKUs. Like if I talk in layman terms, then if I give an example of Corex syrup, how much Corex syrup they could sell in the month, in that particular month. So they used to make this entire list, and they used to share it with the companies for their product basket. So that kind of activity was there. From IPCA, I obviously got my research backup, but then it was more of pharmacological activity which was there involved, like which drug goes under which pharmacological category and all.
Again, how was the transition? I mean, was it like planned to shift from R&D to a market research kind of job?
No, so actually, when we are naive, like when we are new to the industry, we run behind money kind of thing. So they were offering more. Although I like that profile, but it was a desk job kind of thing, and I was more of a research oriented person. So in a year or so, I shifted from there. A very short span I spent with them. So it was not a planned thing. It was just a motive, a money oriented motive, which I must say, loyally. So that kind of thing was there. It was not a planned thing, and that's why I went back to research.
So, but now down the line, after 10 years, you feel like during the early time, we just run behind money, and at times, that not go well with the career.
Yes, it happens, so because we spend so much on our graduation, post graduation, and suddenly when we are into research and development, we think that the company is not paying me well or something like that. So we try and keep changing our jobs and stuff. But I would say that what I've learned in my almost a decade of career is that you need to show some stability so that you learn more, and you have to be focused. Like if you want to do certain thing, you should do that.
And what came after IMS then?
Sorry, sir.
Where did you join after IMS?
After IMS, I joined FDC. FDC is a company which is again more into domestic market, and they have ophthalmics in US market. So in FDC also, I joined an NDDR department. It was novel drug delivery, wherein I was working on nano suspensions and again pelletization.
Okay, okay, okay. And
Yeah.
then was there any change in profile in terms of your stint with IPCA as well as FDC?
Change in profile in the sense there was one different kind of dosage form which was added to my profile, but then it was completely research and development, and more of that IPCA was more into regulated market, and FDC is also focused toward domestic market business. So that was the difference actually.
Right, right, right. And how is it like for a fresher or a fresh UG or a postgraduate actually when they are actually looking for a job in research, typically with let's say formulation or regulatory or analytical what they should look forward to. I mean, what should be their criteria for of course the students don't have much options nowadays to choose, but then still if given choice, what should be the criteria to look forward to when you are like looking for a good job in typically in a research?
Okay. First thing should be that you should be very clear that you want to go in that field, because research needs a lot of patience, and there is the kind of incentives we look for, and maybe the kind of promotions and stuff we look for is quite slow when you are into research field. So you have to be very hardworking when you want to select for this, or else people generally go for regulatory affairs or quality assurance. But research requires again patience. What a person should look for is that, what I've learned, sir, is that your basics should be crystal clear kind of thing, and you should keep learning. In research and development, your studies never ends. Like, you after post graduation, you are into again some kind of university wherein you are still learning and learning and learning every day. So I think
Yeah.
so that kind of thing is there. So what I feel that students should look for is at least if even if you're getting into some small company or something, you should be sure that what you're doing, you should do it loyally. There should be a kind of good it should have enough impact kind of thing.
Right. And Pooja, actually, when I had an opportunity to go through your profile, you created kind of interest or expertise in QBD. How did that happen, and how significant it is as far as research is concerned?
Right, sir. So in FDC, I got to work on DOE software. It was a studies DOE software. So that was 2011 was actually the turning point in pharmaceutical industry when QBD was coming into picture. Everyone was talking about QBD. So initially we used to have like hundreds of trials to come to one final formula. So what QBD helped the pharma industry is, like, we could reduce that kind of monetary burden which was there on development. So quality by design is quite now it's like almost a decade old in pharma industry. So from FDC, because as a part of QBD learning program which was there, I got to work on those softwares and all, and so how then I learned about it.
Would you actually recommend to students to learn these kind of softwares or any information related to QPD as such, for especially those who want to enter into research?
Yes, of course, because I would say that pharma industry is getting saturated day by day, really speaking, and you should have something different from others. So and QBD is so important. Like, it exists from the development stage to commercialization, and then life cycle management. So it is there in the entire product life cycle. So if you can offer a company something different from other candidates, they'll obviously prefer for you. So QBT is very interesting. Learning statistics, learning design of experiment is again, a wonderful thing, and it will obviously add something better to your profile, something which is different from others, because generating a kind of interest in statistics is not very, people, pharma graduates, they don't prefer that kind of thing, but I think they should go for it.
Right. I would like to come back to your statement that there has been saturation in the pharma industry. So,
Right.
in fact, we have got a question from Dipali. She is asking, what are the kind of opportunities you feel are available still available, I would say, in terms of research?
I would say that one thing is QBD, which I can think of, and another thing is clinical research. A lot of clinical research firms are there, so we can have some kind of certifications in clinical research management and stuff, which is actually booming. And again, for research field, there is many biopharmaceutical courses which are available, because people look for biostatisticians, biopharmaceutical experts. So this is something which is, we find it difficult to get people in this arena in pharma industry. So these kind of things we can look for, which is quite different from, the conventional kind of things available.
Yeah, and I believe from FDC, then you moved to Micro Labs, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Therein, in fact, I had I think few times we interacted as well during Micro Labs, how was your experience different compared to the earlier organizations in terms of Micro Labs?
Micro labs, so as you also know that, it was more about regulated market, completely about regulated market, and there were a lot of work which was going on together, many projects going on together. So in a micro labs again, I was completely, I had a team, and I was handling QBD as well. I was handling, I mean, DOE as well, because I think Deepak was one person who was handling DOE, and after that, after he left, I was the one who was, doing all that part. So in micro labs, there is, I learned that, you have to be, smart enough to tackle things, properly. Because when you talk about a research, a company which is working on NC-1 or first to file products, time management and stuff is very important. So that kind of thing, I learned from micro labs that today, if you want to go for bio study, your target is bio study should go in this month, so it has to go in that month, because then you will miss your NC-1 target or so. So these kind of things, when you work in regulatory environment, you learn how you manage time and how you plan your research activity based on filing dates and stuff.
And then thereafter, I think your last assignment was with a company.
Yes.
What's the name of the company?
Bliss GVS. So I recently, left that organization. Bliss GVS. I was having a team again there, and it was working. I was working basically on suppositories and pessaries. So it was again a different kind of dosage form I got to learn from Bliss. They are more into Middle East and Southeast Asian countries. Their market focus is that kind of. So because it's a niche business kind of thing, their focus is quite different. But again, I got to learn about different dosage form.
Yeah. Pooja, I think what applies even to me, or like in your case as well, in almost decades career, you had 4 or 5 different companies in which you work. Okay.
Right.
We in fact had a discussion about the stability part as well. So
Yes.
generally, with the next generation, the problem is, as you rightly mentioned, as a young student, we prefer switching the jobs just for the sake of money.
Right.
Simply speaking, if you look today and look back, for an entire decade's career, what should have been one thing that you should have avoided?
I feel that that's what stability again. It is a big thing, and I feel that stability should have been lot of experiences, different arena I worked on, different kind of market I worked on, but stability, but again becomes a question mark when you look into that kind of profile. So that phase when in 5 years I changed 3 companies kind of thing. So it shouldn't have been there. You should have be more maturity comes after a decade. You think that maturity was not there at that point of time.
Yeah. So Pooja, we have got a question which is just in sync with what we are discussing. Like, for example, you worked on the NDDS, thereafter you had an opportunity to work with ophthalmics, then oral solids, and finally with the suppositories. And I consider this as a very smart question. What does a company look into a candidate? Means, how did you get those opportunities to work on different products as such?
Actually, it's a very very smart question. I must say that whatever you have learned or whatever your knowledge is, you should be able to present it in front of a person. When an interviewer is sitting in front of you and he's asking you question, how you portray yourself as a product kind of thing. You become a product. You are selling yourself to someone kind of thing. It is, if it is a right word. So you how you are presenting yourself, how you are presenting your knowledge becomes more important. Because maybe I learned QBD and DOE in FDC. Every time in Microlabs I was recruited for that. In Bliss I was recruited for that. So QBD became a very important point in my career. So that was the consistent thing after FDC. Again, from IPCA to Microlabs, pelletization was my forte. So almost 8 years in my career, I worked on pelletization, which was a constant. Obviously, I got other dosage form as well parallelly with it, but pelletization was the thing. You can say it was my expertise. It has
Yeah.
been my expertise.
Right. So based on this only, we have got a question from Rupali. She's asking what was the exact application of QBD or DOE softwares. Did you also come across more such softwares like Material Studio? I think she's mentioning Material Studio to study drug polymer interaction.
Yes. First, I'll come to what is the importance of QBD. As I said that initially, when we used to work on a particular project, we used to go by hit and trial kind of method, wherein we used to work on 10 different polymers together, especially when it is a modified release formulation and you have 24 hours of profile or 36 hours of profile, and you are working on 2-3 different kind of polymers. That will again consume at least 50-60 trials. But if you are going with QBD, you can apply it at the initial stage of screening, then in optimization, kind of thing. So you save your time, you get more information. Again, when you file a product with, in which DOE is applied, you get your design space approved. So like in a conventional method of development, wherein the formula is fixed and you cannot change it. And if there is any changes, you have to go through SUPAC and all. So, but in this case, you have your design space approved. So whenever you are moving anywhere in any point and in that design space, you don't need another, a different approval for that. So this was one major benefit, which is a major benefit for using QBD and all. Again, life cycle, if you are following ICH guideline and, quality aspects of it, they have added life cycle management, analytical technique, validation stuff in last 2-3 years. So QBD is adding a lot of value to a development, and it is making things easier for us only. Again, there are many softwares available for all like JMPs and all are there. You can JAMP, you can say JAMP is there. Then Statis offer DOE software. So there are many software wherein you can use these design of expert. You can use statistical model for your polymer studies and stuff.
Yeah, Pooja, actually most of the participants for this session as well as generally for programs are female participants. Would you recommend them moving into research post masters as such or post PhD?
If I frankly say, and Vijay sir, you have read my blogs kind of thing. Whenever as a female candidate I was interviewed, so before marriage when I was interviewed, people used to ask me questions like, when are you getting married? Will you shift from Mumbai to other place or something like that? So, or even after you get married, they'll ask you if you have any plans to start your a family and stuff. So and then after you have a baby, it becomes difficult for you to manage things with office and stuff, because research consumes a lot of your time. It is not that you have 9 hours working hours and stuff. You have to extend at different levels. So, but I would say that if you have interest in something, you should go for it. You should not get discouraged by anything. And research is a very good thing. It's a very good thing. So you can go for it. Being a girl, there are things we have to manage, but we can manage, obviously.
Of course, yes. I must agree with that, because the way I have seen you working in the lab as well during that time, because I think I also had a opportunity to be on your floor for 6 months or so, like the renovation was happening. Good.
Right.
Coming what you mentioned, like about blogging. In fact, we have got the question from Momita. Momita, she is asking,
Mhm.
what made you actually start blogging and how did you go about it?
Um, you need kind of respite in your life, kind of thing. So blogging started. I started blogging when my mother expired. Actually, that was a difficult kind of phase for me. So I wanted to share my experience with others, and then it became a kind of meditation for me. I started writing about my experience, about things in general, which we just overlook, or something which you want to share with others, because I just wanted to kind of spread positivity and share my experiences, so that people who are facing a similar situation can handle it more in a better way. So initially it was just for my own respite and kind of thing, and then it became what do you say, something which was giving me a lot of peace and a space in my mind and a composure.
And how did your friends and family react when you at blogging, putting your thoughts into words? What was their reaction, and how did definitely they must have encouraged you, so how did they actually encourage you as well?
So altogether, blogging, when I started, my husband is my first kind of critic. He's someone who reads it first, and he likes it. He keeps asking me that when you are writing your next blog and stuff. So he encouraged me, and I must say that my mother-in-law, she is a blessing to me. So even everyone, my dad, everyone, they encouraged me for that. And many I got many positive feedbacks, kind of for my blogs. So it was good, like people, I was actually able to connect with them, and I was able to connect with their feelings, and things which we just think, and which is there in my mind, and we're not able to speak out. So that kind of thing actually happened.
And what are your future plans for blogging?
Uh, let's see, sir. Because blogging, I love doing it. It is after painting, blogging is kind of a meditation for me, and I like it. I have decided to add learning and development to it, and very like shortly I'll be adding that also. So it will also include a pharma kind of pharma blogging sort of things on like various topics and stuff. But the personal kind of blogging, which is more of a motivational blogging, I'll continue with that.
Okay. Just for the information of all the students, I think yesterday was Pooja's last day at the organization, and henceforth, so instead of me telling, let Pooja tell what are her plans professionally. Iske aage, what is she going to do?
So actually, my husband is also a pharmaceutical graduate and postgraduate. He's done his post graduation in IPR from Manipal. So he was constantly behind me that you should join me, you should join me. They have a business in pigment dyes and colors dispersions and all. So he wanted me to join him so that I can work into technical services, research development, and business development. So finally, then I decided that I should actually go for it, because again, it had a research. He was giving me that kind of profile. So I have decided to join my husband, and I'll be handling research and development, technical services, and business development in Mandar Organics.
Can you share us more about Mandar Organics?
We are like a 3-decade-old company, and it was started by his father. Then Mandar Organics is basically into organic colors, so environmental friendly organic colors. We sell it for textiles, paints, pigments. Then it goes in various rubber, paper, other applications. So different products we have for different applications. Basically for textiles and paints, soaps, detergents, kind of thing. Also, because the same thing goes for pharmaceutical industry, but it needs more of regulation. So we have slowly decided to get into pharmaceutical business as well.
Okay, so that would be kind of your contribution in terms of Mandar Organics when you join.
Right, sir. Right.
Right. So Pooja, we have a very interesting question, which I don't know whether it would be you would be interested in moving ahead. Mansi,
Mm-hmm.
she is asking, she is interested in learning more about QBD. First is
Okay.
where can she get this information, and I have a yes. For example, if you get an opportunity to teach the students about QBD, what would be your comfort in that?
I would love to. First thing I would say is that one thing which Statis does is that they give 45 days software, kind of, free software access. So you can download Statis DOE software, which is Design Expert. So that is one software part. But before that, there are many books on QBD. One book is QBD Simplified, which we can all, you can refer. And I can actually give a session on QBD, including design of experiment and how you understand your DOE successful and how it is applied in pharmaceutical industry. So that is the complete thing of QBD. DOE is just a small part of QBD. QBD Simplified would be the first book a person should refer. And then you can download 45 days Statis Design Expert software.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for this particular information. And definitely, we would look forward to you for a session on QBD. Maybe we'll plan it in advance with maybe we'll have more number of participants who would be from academia as well as industry, because as a brand pharma doing lots of things, especially for the pharma students as well as academics and at times industries as well. So we would, of course, definitely like to have your session on QBD as well. Students, anything else you would like to speak with Pooja directly, or any other questions you have for Pooja? Yeah, thank you, Rupali. Yes, Momita, Dipali, Ranjeev, Siddhi, Mansi. Yeah. So I think we got a fair amount of idea, and I the best learning as far as the discussion I would say is about one thing that was really crucial. I believe even I feel so. Stability is something which is really significant in terms of job and not just running after money. Thank you so much for your time, and it was really nice interacting to you. And we really wish you very, I would say, happy career ahead in terms of Mandar Organics, as well as one thing I really like about this particular discussion is about you mentioned blogging when you are you lost your mother at that point of time, and I would she must be very happy today. It's a Mother's Day today, and it's
Right, sir.
really
Right.
fortunate enough to have you right here, Pooja. Thank you so much.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for having me here. So thank you so much for giving me that platform, this platform to speak. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.